Hi, episode 69 of the Wide Awake and Babylon podcast. I'm Chris. That's Tom. That's Wally. And that's Isaac back there, the engineer.
Man, yep.
Yeah. I hope y'all had I'm going to just say it.
Merry
Christmas. Hope that doesn't offend you. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. It's been a part of my life for 54 years.
Yeah, we had a nice one here. Just small.
Yeah. We can say Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah.
All right. And we're a couple days away from
New
2025.
A new year is dawning. It'll be an interesting year.
Oh, I think 2025 is going to be so weird, so completely off the rails weird that without the right level of energetic presence, you're going to buckle.
It'll be important to keep your shit together.
Or get rid of it.
Well, sometimes you have to gather it to get rid of it.
Yeah. Gather that all into your bowels and let thy bowels flow to the ground. Get rid of all your stuff and get your, alignment back. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight is in Carlos's books, he writes about the art of stalking, as Don Juan taught him. And, and there's ideas of what stalking is. And I'm not saying any of those ideas are wrong. I think it's a really broad topic. But we don't mean stalking like, peeking in front of your house, staring through your window, right? I'm surveilling you. I have an AirTag on your car. I'm sending you DMs all the time. Yeah, not that kind of stalking, although that does probably happen quite a bit. The kind of stalking is yourself. And what you're stalking is where energy has been deployed that doesn't serve an ultimate purpose or your goal or your well-being in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like reactions to people, so when you react the same way to somebody, that would be something to stalk, right? Because there's an energy depletion going on there, right? And what you're stalking, how you would do that is instead of reacting to them, you really tune into the energy that you're feeling inside. And if you do that, you could trace its roots.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see where that sits in you and why you react a particular way to a particular person or a particular situation over and over and over again the same. Right? Because we're creative beings. We're going to deal with, what seems to be the same problem in different ways if we're energetically fluid and literate and if our well-being is right? No two situations should ever be the same. So when we start reacting to things as if it's the same thing over and over and over again, there's a lot of energy consumed in maintaining the parameters that it is the same over and over and over again, right? So really what you're trying to do is push past those boundaries, right? To harvest the energy that's trapped up in a block to your, your deeper perception of life, your, have more attention behind your awareness, right?
I think the holidays are a great example of that because everybody gets together with their family often, and that's where a lot of triggers arise from because you're not with your family all the time, and those holidays can just bring people together. It's like, okay, well, everybody's changed since the last time we got together, but people are expecting people to be the same. It's like, well, no, that's not true.
And even if you've changed and the opposite person knows you have, and they have, you walk in there, they're still most likely going to treat you like they always have, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like when you go home for the holidays or you go to see your parents. I know this friend of mine that whenever they would go to see their parents, it was like they would morph in the car and become their parents' child, not this adult person they knew, right? And it was just bizarre to watch. I'm like, what's happening to you right now? It's like you're shifting into a 12-year-old girl. What's going on here? What's this about? Why are you fitting into this role? Because that's what they're looking for. And then the interactions are and the conversations are nothing like they are when they're not around. So there's all these trigger points going on all the time, right? And that to me would be a situation where you stalk that. Like, are you a little girl or are you a grown adult woman who takes care of herself? right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so when you walk in the door, they want to treat you like a little girl. Are you triggered enough that you're going to behave like a little girl? Or are you going to go, yo, what's with that? Show some, the maturity level you're at, not adhere to the one that they've always known you in. In those situations, they're the most difficult, which means they're going to be the most valuable because there's a lot of energy wrapped up in the way, parents feel about their kids feel about their parents, thing. I mean, that's, there's one aspect of it. And, there is so much energy tied up in that role playing that goes on with families. This is your role. You're that irresponsible kid who never does it right, you know. And you could be well on your way to, being extremely mature and responsible, but they don't see that. What are you doing? You must be doing something, right? And that kind of thing, you just kind of have to look at them and go, yeah, yeah. You don't try to change their mind, right? Because that's where the energy gets the most depleted. How are you going to change a mind that sees what it sees?
It never goes well.
Mm-mm.
No.
It just doesn't, So, to me, the best way has always been the way that I would stalk that myself personally is I would walk in there and I would just be of service. I would be of service and I would say, I would just not have my normal conversations, and just but be of service. Can I help you with something? Is there anything you need? Wow, you look good today, right? You just keep it right there. So it disarms them. They don't know how to react. And then suddenly you can see this fluidity in you, right? And it's almost like you get your dignity back, right? Because you can stand in this more astute you. And it is you. And you can hold that in front of the people who are going to throw rocks at that immediately because they know who you are. Right? So there's one aspect of stalking for sure. Another aspect of it is your own thoughts. That has got to be stalked like crazy and not just looked at, not just like, I wonder where that came from. I mean, followed, traced, tracked back to its source, right? Because those thoughts, the source of thought is not in you, it's outside of you. It's not in you. You don't have a thought in you, right? It comes at you, right? And it's kind of like a recipe to stir your energy up in particular ways. There's what I mean by stalking thoughts is there's going to be thoughts from the world, right? Thoughts from whatever ails you. So if you have nervous tension, your thoughts will be coming at you through that frequency. Anger, here they come. All these things. When those thoughts come in, they dominate your energy field, right? So it's not that you're not going to have them. You're going to have thoughts. To stalk them is to know which ones you should give attention to and which ones you should just stare at with no engagement, right? Until that moment comes, who knows when it comes for anybody, when the mind goes silent and you can perceive from a point of pure clarity. No thought about the world. It's no different. You and it and everything else are exactly the same, right? You kind of get to that space where when you're sitting like on a mountain and you start looking out, you don't feel you anymore. You feel like you're just part of all of that, that more expansive state, right? And that comes from a silent spot, right? And really, I think that could be a good goal to get to that place because it's from there you can launch into all kinds of dimensional frequencies. Do you go anywhere? Well, sometimes, but more often than not, you just get a feeling that just you wouldn't want to give it up. You understand what I mean? So it kind of it's one of those things where you just have to honor those things when they come. Yeah, there's the thoughts. There are good ones. I'm not saying they're all bad. There are good thoughts out there, right? And those are the ones you give energy and attention to, right? But still check their source. Doesn't mean, oh, this is a good thought, I'm going to act on it. Well, it's an interesting thought. Now see if it's right or not. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like having some discernment before you act. Some discernment before, because to think is an act. And all action takes energy. And energy and action, they're kind of intertwined, right? So know what you're thinking. And there's those thoughts that come in is like, man, just go, oh, okay, and be quiet with it. Yeah, it hurts, it sucks, it doesn't feel good. But as long as you don't exacerbate it, it's malleable, which means you can tear it apart and look into it and see where's this really rooted at. Where exactly does this negative feeling in me, where is this originating from? What do I believe about the world? What do I believe about other people? And what do I believe about myself that causes me to engage the world in such a way? Right? And not just thinking about it, putting thoughts, getting into the feeling of it. That's stalking. Anybody can think, right? And rationalize and create some kind of equation to understand something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not that. It's really checking in with, how does this feel? Does this feel good? You like this? But you really notice that when that thought comes in and you decide to express it, react, dance with it, make love to it, for God's sakes, check the way you feel. You like that? Is it justified? Does it matter? I mean, I would rather feel good than be right. I would rather have well-being than be justified. Right? So there's a lot of things where, retaliation is justified. But I'm not going to do it. Right? I mean, recently, there's a big thing that retaliation is justified, but that's going to consume more energy than I want. Right? And I don't want to get into it. So it doesn't matter how justified it is. That is not the point. The point is, what's your level of well-being? What's your level of energetic presence? Right? How much focus do you have in this world? How well aware are you of your state at that moment? Right? Because, anger needs justification. Retaliation, revenge needs justification. Right? You have to invest in it. Right? And to me, what a waste. It's just a waste. It's like, well, that person said this about me. Yeah, and who does he know? 5, 7, 10 people who've got a short attention span and won't even remember your name was mentioned. Does it really matter? It's kind of one of those weird things. But, to really understand where thought comes from, what it's doing to you, how is it you're giving it energy? If you don't know, don't ask anyone, because you don't do it the same way they do. And even if you did, you aren't going to express it the same way. So it's really an internal thing. Stalking is an internal act, right? And if you trace it to something outside of you, well, then, yes, you extend your awareness to that point that's outside of you, and you hammer down on whatever that is, right? I mean, I've tracked these things in my life for a very long time, right? Just really, really tracking thoughts, stalking the hell out of myself, because, I was a frustrated mess. And, angry, yeah. I mean, angry, but I never was violent with anyone. I have no criminal record. I have no assaults, nothing like that. But, I would take it out on things, and I would take it out on my own energy field, right? And I would create situations that would, I have to really work hard just to save face, and I just didn't feel good anymore. So, I started early, younger than I guess most. It was pretty much like a daily practice of just staring at shit since I was like 21. Well, when you walk in, eat an ounce of mushrooms, you lay down on your couch for 8 hours, you get up, there's nothing to report other than I got a shit ton of work to do. There's nothing else to say. I mean, oh, it was this and that, it was this and that. Yeah, it was all that, and it was a whole lot of other stuff too. Because it opened a door to me that I could not ignore the way I felt. I couldn't just go through my life doing things and never checking in with, whoa, where's my state of well-being in all this? This lifetime, that's been the most important thing to me. Not building an empire, not having a degree, being a parent, a grandparent, and outside of that, well-being, getting this thing clear and clean, getting this thing all in alignment, prepared for the big, shift of things when it arrives. and be able to roll with it as it's happening. Right? I'm not waiting for this big shift. I'm preparing myself for my own shift, whatever that's going to be. And it's really reducing the identity down to nothing, because that's a big consumer of energy. And if you actually stock it, you think it's making your life great. You might think it's even important, but the richness without it, where you're just another cell in a body and you just move through the world like that, there's a richness to that you can't be compared to, because the identity is consuming energy because it doesn't actually exist. You have to talk about it. But the you, that's actually that living, breathing thing, without that identity, is just free to do what it does and move in the direction it needs to move. That's energy generating. That's a powerhouse cell, right? I mean, there's a lot of power in that, and that is what carries you. It's never the identity. Identity drains you, right? And if you understood what the identity is composed of, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on it by any stretch. For me, what the identity is composed of is thoughts, memories, past advices. Past vices, it's all of this. It's what you were told, how you were raised, the school you went to, the people you were around, all of that. You could marginalize some of it, but it all added up to who this identity is, right? The influences you took on, right? Like someone goes to see a badass cowboy movie, and then they come out of the movie theater, they start dressing like a badass cowboy and start talking like a badass cowboy. It's like, you see what you're doing there? You're propping up an identity that wasn't you prior to walking into that theater. It's like when The Matrix came out. Everybody walked out of that theater thinking that I'm Neo. It's like you're libtard.
I think it's interesting because, like, it's kind of like a backpack you're carrying around, the identity that is. Mm-hmm. And it's funny is sometimes you can take it off. And then you take it off and try to walk away from it. It's almost like there's like chains tied to the backpack to your legs. You're trying to go, and it's like still like falling. You drag it in the dirt.
Yeah. I always said, what you are is a vessel. You're either a 50-gallon drum full of content, or you're a ship on the open seas. Which one is it? Right? The barrel isn't going anywhere. And the boundary is the barrel. That's the identity. It creates boundaries for your attention, your awareness, your presence, your being, your soul, your spirit to expand out and see. You got uncles out there. Just not even like 5 feet away from you. You got aunties, you got uncles, you got grandparents. Yeah, the elders, if you will. They're right here. They're right here. And it doesn't mean you have to go look for them. You drop the identity, right? And you slip into the character of what this is in you. And you'll see that it's different, but you can connect with them. I mean, you can actually see them. I think the veils are dropping. I think that's why it's getting weird, is no one knows how to handle this. It's like, there's all kinds of things going on in the systems we have in place. We're not meant to handle it, right? It's like we've put too many books on a shelf, and it's about to collapse in all aspects of life, right? And so the only thing we're going to be able to do, I think, personally, I'm not saying this is true for anybody, but for me, it seems that we're going to shift dimensions, right? And then we're going to understand what consumption is, what it does, what's necessary and what's not, right? And all of this just squandering of every resource just to get a kick won't matter anymore. Because once those veils are dropped and you make contact with your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents, the Christed ones, there is no turning back from that. Once you stare in their eyes and see the familiarity between you and them, if that doesn't kick off stalking, I wouldn't know what would. Because all you want is that presence. It's like the story I told last weekend about the ball of light that lands in the woods, and there's people standing there in their white robes. that feeling was there. It was weird because at one point I wanted to walk up to this man that was staring at me. And I just felt, I mean, what could you call it? Well, love? I mean, there's no word I can find that touches what that was. It was the most sacred feeling I've ever had in my life. There was a connection there. There was a bond. It was like I knew him forever. It was like he could be trusted beyond anything, right? And I wanted to take a step closer. He just said, no, we can connect from the distance. Besides, you got any closer, it could damage you because the radiation coming off of them is not, I wouldn't say it's not meant for the human being. You must train the body to be able to withstand such a thing, which is why Josh knocked the fuck out, right? The guy that ran in narcolepsy, had to drag him out, freaked out, wanted to go home. Hadn't done any work on himself. So when that energy hit and it just was this expansive energy, he passed out. I mean, I've watched a lot of people do that. When the elders were around, they would do these medicine wheels in the middle of the room. Have a gathering of people around them. And, people are thinking, oh, look at that. They're setting rocks and they're writing east means this. East is eagle. This is the stone. South, that's coyote, blah, blah, blah. And they're just writing all this down. I'm like, you guys are missing all of this right now. Because this wasn't like something for you to memorize. This was something for you to experience, right? This was knowledge and action. So he's setting these stones, right? And he's saying the prayers and calling in the spirits of those directions, doing all this. And as he's doing it, there's medicine wheel, you always see it as 4 points, right? North, south, east, west. But there's 7 layers of the wheel and all those directions are represented. So it covers every spot. So he's doing 5, and that's how far he's going. First set's the first one. There's 2 or 3 people in that room, knocked out. But you could feel like an opening in yourself, like this expansion. Right. And I noticed that a lot of people wanted to put the emphasis on the medicine wheel and not on the feeling inside. You're missing the point. It's not about what this is. It's about what it's doing to the experience you're having. So he sets the second one and it opens even further. More people drop out. By the time he got to that 5th one, there was maybe 6 people out of 35 left sitting there, still conscious. Nothing happened to them. They just were like, ooh, pop, dropped out. One of them even said, they said it was beautiful. Then, it was really intense to watch. And then by the time you got to the 5th wheel, what you started to see, because if you could maintain consciousness, you following me? All right. When you can maintain consciousness, you see the shift in your eyes. You see everything as it gets very different, very quick. Right. So by the 5th wheel, I don't know what the 6th and 7th ever looked like. They never did it. But the 5th one, you could see these strands of energy just hanging in the air. Right. And you would see little wisps darting around on them. But they were all interconnected. It wasn't like single ones. There was like thick ones hanging down and like a mesh or like a lacy kind of vibrating energy, just connecting everything all together. And you're just sitting in that. Right. And this is way out here. Right. And you feel awesome inside, and I think that's what life is for, is to have those experiences, right? Because they settle you down more than anything, right? They make you, even though you may not ever know what life is or whether or not it has a meaning, you will be enjoying being a part of all of that. Right? And it just sinks in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It starts to touch your heart. Right? When that heart opens up and that will is engaged, that's magic. And there's so many of these dimensions that we can access. There are so many elders out there sitting right next to you. And if you could just drop the identity, because it can't mingle with that. It doesn't mingle with what's made. It mingles with what's living. The identity is made. It's not living. They won't mingle with that. You have 10,000 thoughts about it. It ain't going to bring them any closer. What brings them closer is to be able to accumulate all of the energy that has been put into propping up an identity, keeping the thoughts in line, burning that in like a sacrificial fire, if you will, metaphorically. And they notice that. It's the smell. And they come in, and then suddenly they give you a boost, which is what they do. That's the thing about life. It helps other life. And so they give you this boost, and that boost, it's like it feels like this or whatever this, it's like a layer of the onion comes off that you're seeing deeper into the core of things. So they're peeling away layers, and as those layers are being peeled away, the thing that masks you from seeing them is that goes away too. And suddenly you're standing there. Like people ask me, do you miss Carlos? I'm like, he hasn't given me a chance to. It's like, what do you mean? He's on my ass 24/7, literally. And there's a Carlos Castaneda page on Facebook. I don't go there because it seems competitive. It seems like a lot of mental noise and a lot of experts on someone they never met. And I've always met you didn't know him, that you're lying, I wasn't him. Well, then tell me who he was, since you know so much. The man introduced himself to me as Carlos Castaneda, introduced himself to my wife as Carlos Castaneda. My mother met him. My wife's ex-wife's mother met him. There's other people that were around. It wasn't just me. There's other people that were part of that, And I see him regularly. Sometimes it's a crow flying by. And if there's two, I know who's with him. You feel that. Right? And I pray every night that I don't become too numb or too delirious or too delusional to recognize what that feels like. It's not about anybody else knowing about it. Oh, I saw two crows flying today. It was Carlos. It was Don Juan. They had something to say to me. It's not for that, right? For me, it's just that recognition. There you are, right? It's a deep heart feeling for me because I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'd be dead if I didn't spend time with Carlos. He whooped my ass. He pointed out every discrepancy, every fault, every lack of integrity, everything. And he never let any of it slide. He didn't get mad at me for it, right? He wasn't going to waste his energy in reaction. But so it was almost like he was really tolerant of it, but at the same time, he's poking it all the time. He might be tolerant, but I'm pushing on that. I'm not going to stop. I picked up a little bit of that myself, right? Because it's like, do you want to fuck around or do you want to do this for real? Do you want to just go be some new age fucking retreat leading shaman? Or do you want to be a real human being? I mean, it's been that way for me my whole life. It's like, I understood what, I was very egoic in this young. People noticed it in me when young. Some ass spark, I don't know. It was them that were saying it, and I just let it go to my head. I felt I could do no wrong, while I was doing everything wrong. And anybody that would come around, they weren't calling that. Right? I had never had anyone counter that until, first Joseph. He whooped me a little bit, but I was still like, so egoic that it was like iron. You ain't getting through this. That's my armor. You ain't getting through. Your sword ain't sharp enough, but it scared the shit out of me. And then when he passed, I spent a year, I was just going to abandon it. Like, screw it. I'm going to get a career. I'm going to make life easy because I ain't got shit. I've just been following these elders around for years and I don't have anything. And maybe I should just go get something. And then, did that for about a year. And then Carlos showed up. And that's the one that, he's the one that wouldn't. There was nothing that, slipped by. If he was aware of it and it was depletion of my energy or it caused my well-being to drop, he was on that shit like crazy and would not let up. I had to go to Mary Pete Zuter's house for 6 straight months because I was that obstinate, right? And breaking down that resistance to how you actually feel. Fuck all the thoughts. How do you feel? That is, to me, is the most important because, as Don once said it, you really are, at the end of the day, nothing more than exactly how you feel. That's what you are. That's what's viewing the world, that feeling inside of you. If you don't like it, is that an aspect of you or is that a little critter in there? So I think the whole world, most of the people in this world need to do some of this. Look inside. What have you allowed in there? What are you harboring in there? right? How many hijackers you got in you, right? And that's a spooky thing to look at, right? Because there's a lot of guilt and shame tied up in that you allowed some little nefarious thing to start dominating the way you think and feel, right? This kind of, like I remember after 9/11, suddenly everybody started looking at each other with suspicion, not with love, right? And not to say that there was tons of love before that, but it was a little easier to come by to have, what'd you call it? Fellowship with other people. It was a little bit easier to come by. Now, it's like, no, the only thing that's going on out there is transactions. In a lot of ways, it's just straight up transactions. People, well, at our retreats, it's a fucking transaction. You got paid. It's transactional. Right? And it's like, it steals the heart from things.
It can also, those retreats can be very transactional in terms of you need to have an experience coming out of this that we are engineering for you.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit, what a fucked up idea that is.
It's like seeing these things online where people are hosting ayahuasca ceremonies and they got yoga, and then you can do bufo, and then you're going to do cambo, and then you're going to do high colonic, and then you're going to do a tobacco cleanse. It's like, ayahuasca's enough, folks. It's like you're going to do all these purging things. Ayahuasca causes you to purge. What the hell do you need all that other stuff for? Right? And it's like, what are you trying to do here? To me, the best way to do it is like they always did it before it became a thing. You go sit in the jungle, in a maloca with the curandero. You drink medicine. Everybody drinks medicine. It's no big deal. You go bonkers for a couple hours. You feel good after about 4, right? They say good night. You wake up in the morning. You go to breakfast. Hey, how you doing? Good. There isn't anything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, I think a lot of those things, I mean, me personally, this is my feeling, you're disturbing from their process. It's like you're deciding what their process is by having this kind of daily agenda with things. And it's like, no. Like, when we would have the painter there, right? And he would do like a painting workshop. And I'm like, if you want to do it, you can. You don't have to. And I didn't want to. It's like, no, I'm going to sit in this hammock and I'm going to chill. And I'm going to think about how much I got my ass handed to me last night and how am I going to clean up that fucking behavior. You know what I mean? That's just the only thing that's ever been interesting to me is behavior, my own. Yeah. I try to help other people's if they ask for it, but I try to keep that universal unless I know them well. I'm like, here's the issue, and if, whether that is in alignment with them, whether or not they see that or not, that's up to them. That's not up to me. I'm not going to force the issue. I'm not a cult. I don't have students. Right? I don't have apprentices. What the fuck is any of that anyway? It's a joke is what it is. It's always been a joke. They wrote about it that way, but now the word apprentice has a lot of baggage with it. What does that mean exactly? Yeah, what does that mean?
It means you're like an alkalite, basically.
Yeah, Carlos, I wasn't his student. I wasn't his apprentice. We spent days together. And in those days, things happened. And when things would happen, he would either, whether he orchestrated them or not, some of them just kind of happened spontaneously. Every single thing was a moment to learn. Not a moment for him to teach, a moment for me to learn. And he would always keep me in this Christ of all. You must learn. It's like, I got nothing to teach you. The only thing I can teach you is how to learn. Here's how you learn. And we just, where I'd want to tuck tail and run, he would just, no, you stay right here. You stay right here. I mean, there were nights where, he would send these, I don't know, they were grisly looking men. They would come walking out of the woods to intimidate the shit out of me. I don't know if they were real or not. It's still hard to tell. But I tried to tuck tail and I said, no, you face them. You face them. You face them. Right? And they're all looking at me all menacingly, and then they just vanish. He just giggles and walks away. And I'm just left standing there, intimidated, very intimidated. And it was interesting because once the element of intimidation was removed, I still felt it, which was interesting because now I can look at it. What is the intimidation factor in facing anything? right? Situations, people, other dimensions, a fucking alien. You know, how do you not become intimidated when you see something foreign to you? Right? There's only one way, that you have to have that energetic configuration strong, tight, and complete. Right? There has to be a movement towards what did Don Juan call it? Regaining the totality of oneself, to pull energy from all the places it's been dispersed back into the self. Right? And yeah, that's uncomfortable. We've talked about how uncomfortable that is, because it is. It's a pressure beyond anything that most people can withstand. Hell, I have a hard time with it still. I've been doing this for a very long time. And it's this pressure inside. And we always have been trained, conditioned, and really willing to find a place to dump it as quick as we can. Right? To where the real thing you can do is you store that up and you let that, it pressurizes you. That's what expands you. It's also what prepares the body for those higher dimensional, to be able to access a higher dimension, right? Bodily, well, I don't know, I'm sure there's some that can, but energetically, absolutely. Mentally, sure. You know, that connection that's there. And it really, once you hit that spot, I mean, I'm only speaking from my own experience, just so you know. Once you hit that spot, you don't need to go anywhere. There's nowhere to go. Once the feeling arrives, it doesn't matter where you are, what dimension you're in. It's fucking amazing. And there are no words for it. And you just want to be quiet and bask in it as long as you're allowed to. Right? As long as you're allowed to. And, you know, and that, it's not meditation. Right? It's allowing it to happen. Right? Moving completely out of the way so you have an interaction. A lot of meditation can be nothing but imagination. A lot of it. You're imagining all this, right? You see it, you kind of feel it, but then it just kind of, it's real elusive, to where what I'm talking about, it's almost solid. It gets to that point where it's almost material within you. It feels like a presence of something, right? And that's the thing to work for. That's the thing to really have. You know, how do you get it? You can get it through, you know, you can follow Jesus, great. Follow Buddha. I mean, follow whatever you're going to follow. But it has to be genuine within. Right? And I think that if they're, you know, the great creator of all of this, you'll find him in the center of your own heart. The center of your own heart. That's the feeling center. That's where you feel everything. Right? That's where every thought, most thoughts people have, they're just there to keep them from that. Right? You start to see that even just the way the media presses out, all of this is to distract you from being able to see clear into how you feel. Right? Because it's all this info and data. How we lived a long time without collecting any data. We did fine. Right? We're here. So they must have done fine. Now all of a sudden, no, we got to have data. Everything's got to be group oriented. We're going to have all these little groups everywhere. Group against a group, all this tribalism, this kind of division shit. It's like, this is not the way. The way is deep within. And then, you know, it's like when we were in Beeville, Texas, podunk little town. There's nothing to it. Nobody even probably knows where it is because there's nothing about it other than a prison. Right? You can go in there. Are these people enlightened? I wouldn't say so. Are they educated? Yeah, maybe. Minorly educated. Are their hearts in the right place? Yeah, I actually had more heartfelt time with some of those people than I have with people in a city with an agenda. You know, it's not about how hip you are, what you know, how many degrees you have. No. Because I know plenty of people with tons of money, tons and tons of money, that don't feel so good. They feel so bad that some of them, one of them actually, for sure, had to go to jail for trying to sleep with a 12-year-old. All that money, all that notoriety, all that, being worshipped at the Apple conventions, because he owned a big chunk of the stock at the time. This was back in, 97, 98, 99. Rich as can be. Big fat house, horses. He had it all, man. He had it all. Wasn't enough. So what people are chasing, it can be really ridiculous. It can really get out of hand.
Well, it can be chasing experience, and you think the experience will be the thing that does it, but it's not.
Right. It's never that.
Yeah.
Right. The experience is if you're fully available for it and your will is fully engaged in it, it's the experience is the learning. Right. Either to not do that again, most likely do that differently next time. Worked once, don't ever think it's going to work again.
You can't ever recreate an experience. Like I did this once and it made me feel great. And it's like, oh yeah, go try to do that again. No, it's never going to work out the same way because life is
It won't
moving.
feel the same way.
Yeah.
Nope. It has its little places, doesn't it?
You can chase dragons in many different ways.
That's why, it's like how does one become energetically literate? Well, you're going to have to let the energy in, right? Don't give it to thought. Try not to give it to anyone else, right? And hold it. Hold it. Then you'll have enough of it, right? And it will hit you so hard that you will become energetically literate. You'll know that if you do that, this other thing's going to happen to you next. You'll know it like the shadow of a doubt. As far as I know, every time you throw a ball up in the air, it hits the ground. There are certain things that remain a constant. And your actions leading to the way you feel, I think that's always going to remain a constant. I don't think that's going to change. Right? And I don't think you get to the minute, right now I watch, it's like there's no personal responsibility anywhere. It's like, what's happening here? I'm not saying everybody can't be everybody. There's no personal responsibility for the way they feel. It's always because of this, because of that, because of this, because of that, because of Trump, it's because of Kamala, it's because of taxes, because of food prices, because of this, because of that. It's like, that's your energy, right? That you're spilling and giving to that. And in exchange, it's going to give you this feeling you don't like. Does that sound like a good plan? And how is that whole act not transactional? It's all transactional, right? And what transacts? The identity. It's the only transactional thing in you. There is nothing else, right? Well, we breathe in oxygen. We breathe in, oxygen and breathe out CO2. That's a transaction. No, it's not. That's what nature does, right? It's not transactional. You're not exchanging dollars. You're not even really thinking about it, right? And so, you can't put too much energy into transactional relationships with thoughts, with ideas, with behaviors, with actions, with people. You just can't. If you want to experience more of what life has to offer, it's like, what's the purpose? You haven't even seen the whole thing yet, and you want to know the purpose, huh? You haven't even dared to explore beyond this thing you call yourself. Where do you suppose you're going to come up with that? You want to know what the meaning of life is? Live it. And when it calls and says, hey, look behind door number 2. That's the big universe. Yeah, you're going to step outside of your domain and you're going to experience this over here for a second. That's part of it. Takes you to dimensions that are darker than the darkest of dark you've ever known. Deep pits of hell. Because that's part of it too. Right? It's going to take you all over the place. Right? If you're paying attention, you will learn where to put your energy, where not to. You know, like when you go into the creepy places, because, you know, they'll take you there. Not to punish you, to show you. It's really nice to have a guide through hell. It really is. You walk through that. It shows you what happens when you put your energy there. Right? You kind of instill a part of yourself there. Right? So how to walk through that, you know, without any of your energy being depleted, that you're just an observer in a foreign land. Right? And then heaven. Huh, wow. Where, you know, you don't need to put any energy in anything. That's all there is all around you. It almost feels like everything around you is amplifying your well-being all the time. So you have both polarities, but you have to explore them all before you actually begin to understand what life means, what it is, where's it going, what are we doing here? You know, that's not something for the identity to figure out. That's like asking your car, what's the meaning of life? Ain't gonna work. The identity is manufactured much like a car. A bunch of components get together and run around and run amok. Right? So the real knowledge is when the identity is dropped. Right? And that knowledge will come in as energy first. Those that can handle it, hold it, not disperse it, not have a need to get it out of them, and let it ripen. Then it turns into some knowledge they know. Right? It doesn't mean they're going to follow it, but it's now knowledge they know. So if they don't follow it, it's going to hurt a lot more. Because you know what you're doing. You know, that's why behavior is one of those things you got to clear up if you're going to be of any service to anyone. Because you misbehave, that shit hurts, man. You know, you got to have your intentions correct. Right? You got to know that you got to see what your agenda is. Right? And is that impinging on someone else's ride? And if it is, back the fuck up and take care of it yourself. You know, that restores your energy probably quicker than anything. This reliance of an identity on another identity is just adding, you know, burning your energy up for nothing. Right? If you could retain it and let that work on the identity that's within you, then that manufactured thing gets put down. All you got left is presence. All you got left is what's alive. Right? And that the relationship with that, there's no other reason for being here. It's that. You know what I mean? It's not a place for you to build an identity and run around with an avatar. Be. You can do it. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Look what happens. How happy is anybody in this? Right? How terrified are a good chunk of people right now? Shit buzzing around in the skies. I don't know what it is. No one's telling them. Oh, shit. It's like your government's not telling us. Oh, no. What are they? You know, they're just invading your homes, buzzing above your house. No one's telling you a damn thing about it. You know, yeah, there's probably a lot of people freaked out right now. Right? There's a lot of triggers because, you know, I think that really points to, yeah, I don't think there's going to be a shift in consciousness. I think there's going to be a shift in an environment. And there's going to be a lot more to our environment than there ever was, right? Prior, oh, it's always been there, but we've never been aware of it. That's going to come to light, right? And that is going to blow people's minds.
Almost like a new training ground in a way, like something designed to facilitate a higher level of consciousness.
Let's just say there's those moments in time where the veils between dimensions get weakened, much like, you know, your energetic sheath around the planet weakens, right? So then an M-class flare can do Aurora Borealis. Doesn't take an X because the magnetic field is weak. Same that the dimensions are the defined separations between them to where there's plenty of people walking around who don't notice there's anything behind this veil of material reality. but that's going to come crashing through, right? And then you're going to see all kinds of things. You ain't going to just see orbs in the sky. You can see a lot more than that. It's already starting. And I don't, what causes it? Probably a little bit of everything. Where your galaxy is, right? What's influencing it from outside of it? And then, what's your solar system doing? It's moving around the galaxy. What part of the galaxy is it in? It could be all of this. It doesn't have to be woo-woo. It could just be the way the universe works. It's the cycling of it. Like we're going through all this crazy shit. Do you realize there has never been a human being at this place in space where Earth is right now? Ever. Never, ever, ever. Right? And there's energetic influences coming from everywhere. Right? And maybe one area, because when you're moving around the sun, right? Our sun is moving around the center of the galaxy. It takes 25 million years, something like 250 million years for the sun to go around the center of it once, right? So we're at the place where it was 250 million years ago. That's where the dinosaurs got nailed by a comet, right? That's where there's volcanoes and volatility and crazy shit and dinosaurs going extinct and all kinds of things shifting and changing. You're in that same part of your galaxy, your local solar system. There's nothing local about it. It's flying around space, right? And it can go into, we don't know. I mean, there could be gravitational forces that are dimensions themselves, that when you move into another gravitational field, that it opens up a whole new dimension. You get enough electricity charged, start crossing beams. Oh, you're going to open up a portal. There's no way around that. I mean, I've seen it. I cut down a tree and two wires crossed. And I'm standing there looking at it because I'm like, oh shit, I just did that. And when the two power lines crossed, it created a circle of fire. And it was, and I could see into it. There was like an alien sky in there. I'm like, wow, that's insane. And that's a lot of juice, right? It's powered the whole damn neighborhood. Everybody went out. Yeah. That was a long time ago. So
I bet they're really happy with you about that.
Statute of limitations has passed.
we'll pride our transformer.
Yeah.
The big box thing that's at the pole. I think it's what, yeah. They're like, oops. Because those things are not cheap. Took a couple days for them to get one out. A new one in there. But yeah, that's, there's just, it's, I think dimensional and the dimensions and frequencies are the same. This shit's going to get volatile because they're going to mix. That we're actually going to have rifts in between the separations of dimensions. They're going to overlap. They already have. I mean, let's face it, they already have. Why does everything seem so fucking complicated now? Right? You're already in a different place. We're trying to do something old in a place that it doesn't fit. That's why I said that situations going on, your institutions were not designed to deal with this. So you may as well be in a whole different place, right? And you're relying on old, outmoded ways of being to engage it. But there's only one way you could have old, outmoded ways of being, an identity. Because you part with that, whatever's alive, it's tuning into right now, not in what worked for the last 5,000 years. You understand what I mean? So it's more fluid. It's the thing that can learn. It's the thing that is not afraid to go with it. Call it the soul. And the soul is connected to the creator by means of a spirit. Duh. Right? I mean, that's always been the case. There's a you as a living presence, right? You keep that clean enough that a soul takes root inside of you and begins to grow like a tree, right? Bears little fruit. Suddenly, you are in direct contact with that creator. And it's not that I'm in direct contact with the creator. That would be an identity full of shit. It's not like that. It's the feeling of presence. It's not something to proclaim. It's not something to go be an expert on. It's not even something to teach anybody. If you can show it to them and they seem like they're ready for that, go for it. Cast your pearl out before swine. Do not do that, open that up. right? Don't do that with swine. Know a swine. Don't call it a swine. Just don't engage it. That's all. You don't have to be rude. You just go, yeah, not for you. Yeah. Yeah. The clarity of that. It's the presence of spirit within you. That is there's nothing better than that. And the cool thing is about it, it won't do shit for you. It ain't going to make you rich. It ain't going to make you prettier. It ain't going to make your diseases go away. It ain't going to make nothing like that happen. It's going to basically be, it will empower you to be you. Right? And you can have a deep connection and still have several flaws. There's plenty of gurus who have proven that one over and over again. Right?
Time and time again.
Yeah. Some people want to look at me like that. It's like, oh, I'm a pretty flawed being. If you're looking, for a good time around here, you probably don't want to be here. I'm not a good time. I have a sense of humor. We can have fun, but more often than not, it's watch. Be very, very astute and aware of the surroundings, right? Of the way people are walking, the mood, the everything. Because the devil's lurking. We all know that.
I'm extremely wary of anyone that says they have no flaws or tries to pretend like they have no flaws. That's like a red flag, for me. People try so hard to hide things, it's just, they don't realize that you get so much more respect and appreciation from someone if they just owned it.
Hey, I look at it this way. I'm still in a body, so that makes me retarded. So if anybody walks around claiming to be Jesus, it's like, I already know that if you're in a body, you're retarded. So, yeah, I don't mean that in like maybe I mean it in the mental illness way. People are retarded. We a bunch of retards.
I got a little bit of that.
Well, yeah, I know. I see it. I watch it. It's funny. I laugh at it. I'm like, not the best at oration, but you got a good soul, got a good heart. You don't have to speak well. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, what else are you gonna do but laugh at it? I mean, you can get all butthurt or feel weird about it, but laugh at it. It just is what it is, and kind of takes that edge off of it. It doesn't make it so so hard.
I think some of the more difficult things I got to deal with inside of myself is because I've said this. I've said this at the end of very hard nights. I've said this to people who are celebrating. So I'm like, hey, go ahead and celebrate your victories. That's fine, but make sure you put your war bonnet back on in the morning. And I'll put my war bonnet on whether there's a war outside the door or not. And I come walking in with my war bonnet on because it's just for one, it fits and it feels natural. It seems a very big part of my character. And yeah, we're involved in a very big war. And that war, I mean, really, for me, it's like the forces against that, we battle against are trying to make well-being a non-existent thing that you don't even concern yourself with, that your feelings are just some nominal thing in you that they can give you a pill to get rid of or a program to follow. It's like, you want to steal the humanity. You want to sterilize it all, homogenize everything. It's disgusting. I don't find that human by any stretch, right? And well, we're supposed to become more than human. Well, when we become more than human that day, right? We'll know because you won't be a human anymore. Right now, that hurts. We're human. You bleed, you shit, you piss, you sleep. I think you're an animal. You're still an animal, right? Are you massively aware and awake in that animal? No. That's a limitation, right? There's no way around that. That's going to be a limitation. You can only expand so far. But the expansion you can do is pretty far, right? It's into wondrous places. It's into the things poets wrote about. It's into things that the old prophets wrote about. When you start reading about like Elijah walks in the woods And everybody around goes, well, that's Elijah. He walks with God in the woods. Like they see God next to him. You know, those people exist still to this day. You know, but it's not the way we want to take it. Is we want to make him famous. We want to, you know, he needs to have a church and this and this and that and that and that. No. This is time for everyone to arrive at that place, you know, and knowing that everybody's suffering pretty heavily, right? The quicker you can get there, the quicker you can be helping other people to get there, right? You know, and I think there's a lot of stuff out there, you know, it's great for wherever you're at. I kind of like the harder school, the graduate school, let's get real. Let's get very real. Let's not just, you know, make these large statements out in the world. Let's see how we really feel about things. And how? By acting them out, by getting involved, by participating. Not by sitting there behind some comfy walls, surrounded by all the things you like and all the people you love, and just sit there and go, isn't it so great? Life is so awesome. I'm living the best life ever. You know, no, engage the world, right? Put out some service where you might not, right? There's a good act of stalking as well. To be of service in a place that offends you. Be of service to something that offends you. There's a lot to learn in that. Because the first thing you're going to feel is weird as fuck. You know, and if you just keep with it, you know, suck back the weirdness. The weirdness is just, you know, your energy returning. And it can cause for a lot of anxiety in those moments. When you're serving something that offends you. Right? You know what I mean? You understand what I mean by that?
I'm just trying to think of a scenario in my life, something that offends me that I could be of service of.
I got one for me. I'm thinking about getting a job at the casinos recently, but there's a lot of resistance there because the casinos and that whole thing just kind of disgusts me. It's just, in a lot of ways, you know, I spent time, my dad lived in Vegas growing up, so I've been around that. Like, it's just, yeah, something for me. But I guess somewhere like that, that's where they need the most help, I guess.
That's what I mean, for years and years and years, when people would, you know, show up, stick around, be like, go work in the casino. If you're obstinate and you just can't, are kind of at odds with yourself, go work in the casinos. Interact with those people. Hopefully you'll see the light there, and the light that leads you out of that. You know what I mean? And I've known people who had to be there 11 years and basically interact, bounce off other people, learn with, you know, gambling people.
Yeah.
Like just bouncing off all that negativity all day long. Bouncing off of it. They needed that. They needed that friction. They needed that interaction. That wall was so thick. The only way it was going to come down, and they could just accept it for what it was. Yeah, that's years and years of hammering away at a brick wall. You know, every interaction just takes another chunk out. Every interaction takes another chunk out. Every time you look at something, oh my fucking God, boom, another chunk comes out. You know, and if you're really serious about the work, when you look at someone and go, oh my God, and walk away, don't discard that feeling right away, but don't apply it to the person. Understand why it's there in you.
Mm.
Right? That, you know, that's a hard lesson to learn. There's plenty of people out there that they're just there to fuck up society. I don't know how else to put it. They just seem like they're there to fuck with everybody in society. You know, it's like the guys you see on the subway, just being a menace. And there's all these people just minding their own business, and this one guy's got to be a menace. You know, there's plenty of that out there. And in the casino town, you find a lot of that.
In your personal experience, when you feel that way about someone, what did you find out about that for yourself? What did you take away from that, like that feeling and what it really was?
That if you allow your well-being to be affected by anything in this world, that's a fault. By anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's a long haul to get there. And I'm not saying I'm there, but that's the work.
Mm-hmm.
That you can stand in full brilliance, full consciousness, full awareness, full energetic presence, full well-being, and not a thing affects it. Nothing. Nothing at all. Is that a pipe dream? Am I smoking? What you fucking smoking, boy? Say whatever you want. To me, it's a challenge worth trying. And if I fail, so
And if
I'm gonna die anyway.
if it affects us, is that always something within ourselves that it's kind of sparking against, I guess? Would you say?
Say that again. Say it differently.
Um,
Say
if
more.
well, for example, you're in the casino and you see some guy that kind of that has some behavior that's repulsive to you.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling you get of whatever kind of angst towards that person, is that hitting something in you that you kind of have some sort of, it's sparking something, their behavior is sparking something in you that you haven't dealt with?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because I think all altercations, if they were approached from a state of energetic presence and well-being, most of them would not go sideways. Right? It's when someone gets triggered, the anger sets in, suddenly there's a dominant force, suddenly there's an authoritarian thing going on. And then there's a person resisting that, and there's a person acting that out. You got an issue going. And what stirred that up? I mean, the situation probably was bad enough before you escalate it, right? So it's like, for me, I don't go into a situation and go, how can I escalate this? How can I resolve this? How can I get this resolved as quick as possible? And the identity it's the one that's just, oh shit, we should just fucking react. No. Put that aside, take a deep breath, let go of the identity, and let the life force that informed, it's present in the moment. The creator is present in the moment that's happening. If you are clear, you will get precise direction for that moment. Is that a long way off? Depends on how serious you are. Depends on how quiet you are. Depends on how sincere you are. Right? Not to anyone else, but to yourself. How sincere are you about this path? Right? There's plenty of people who will have they'll be all charged up about their path one night. The next day, they're off fucking around, spending the next 2 weeks doing nothing but fucking around. You can see it. It's like, it's like you're draining your energy into boredom. Why would you do that? Well, nothing's happening. Well, yeah, maybe, if you need something to happen, then you should probably get active and start doing something. Energy always kind of implies a verb. It's not a noun. It's not like you can hold it. It's not a person, place, or thing. It's the movement of everything. It's things rubbing together and energy coming off of them. What energy do you need? Well, most likely, if you put down the identity and stop judging everything and stop, making yourself the center of it all and just act naturally, what's naturally you, without the identity influencing everything and needing to be cool and needing people to like you and needing to be just the most friendly guy all the fucking time. If you can just avoid all that and just be a being, be a human, right? Where help is needed, you give it. You don't go, look at me giving you help. You just give it and you move on. Right? You do that and you do that, you do that. It becomes clearer and clearer and clearer for you, a path for you into the present moment where everything is informed. Because it's kind of like this, okay? Where's God? Well, it's within you right now. It's not in you yesterday. Yesterday's over. It's not in you tomorrow. That hasn't happened yet. It's right now. So all of this life force, all of life is right now. Are you? Because if you were, then you would be entangled with that and the natural you would come to the surface. But the identity can't be present. In order to be present in the here and the now, the only thing that can do that is something alive, presence, that has presence, that glows with the glow of awareness, right? Most people aren't there. They're not with life. They're with what life did or what life might do, but not where it's doing right now. The minute you are in that space, you don't know what you're feeling. right? And every act you do is basically playing roulette. It's just gambling, gambling, gambling. Because if you don't have any kind of energetic literacy, it's all a gamble. You have no idea what you're stirring up. You have no idea when you apply this energy whether that person's going to take it right or not. You could walk up to a beautiful woman and go, wow, you look great. She's like, oh, God, you're creepy, and walks away. You don't know how that's going to go, right? So just you have to put down all the pretense. And what's the pretense? The identity. Thinking it knows what's going to happen, thinking it knows when someone's full of shit, thinking it knows when it thinks it knows everything. Inevitably, it does. And people go, I don't think I know everything. Your identity sure does. Because the minute it pins an image on somebody, that's who they are, regardless of who they actually are. Right? And once you pin an identity on you, that's what you are. You have forsaken feeling for an image. You have an image that you have idolized, and that's sapping your life force. And eventually you'll sever that connection. And you won't, people think they know what cold is. Wait till you're, act out, act wrong, don't follow the rules of existence, and you'll get so far away from the source of life, you'll feel dead inside and you'll want to die. You will beg for it. I mean, I've known people who were on this path for years and years and years and considered heavy hitters, elders, potent shamans and medicine men who fell apart. And at the end, just begged for death. I'm like, holy shit, that scared the shit out of me. Because you figure you do work for long enough, you're solid. No. You can always make a deal with the devil. Always, 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 always. I don't care how enlightened, how love and light you are. You can always shake hands with the devil and ruin everything. Right? You could be standing at the pearly gates ready to get your halo and throw it all away. Just by having one thing out of place. And I don't think it's that, detrimental in the early stages of figuring this out. But you get down that road some, it all means a hell of a lot. Your behavior and right behavior means a hell of a lot more than it does when you're just coming out of your delusion. If you're truly trying to step into reality, that takes all of your attention, all of your energy. And there better not be an identity hanging on your back, talking to a monkey, because you're going to get in trouble. That's just going to cause you trouble. Because that will always speak in your ear and distract you from the information of the now and the now for you now. Right? We're all learning. Right? We're not living on our own. We're not these little centers that, generate our own energy. Right? We get ours from the sun. The sun gives it to the cow, gives it to the grass, gives it to the veggies. We eat the veggies, we get the sunlight. Right? So we're getting energy that way. The oxygen in the air, whatever else is in there, it brings your consciousness forward. Water. Well, you ever been dehydrated and you just drink water and it's like everything's getting brighter, you're getting smarter, you're getting lighter? You ever had that feeling? We're like, whoo, yeah. Right? So there's these outside energies that are actually accumulating, focusing in and beaming into us that cause this thing to happen. So it's not a self-generated thing. And then there's the other forces that aren't sunlight, aren't water, aren't food, that come from, behind the veils, behind those layers of onions, right? And are the path of that I'm on is I'm going to peel those until I can see what that is, right? I may never know what it is, but I want to see it. I want to see my direct link to what is creating everything all the time and stay as true to that as I can. And that if there's something taking me off of it, not that I won't go there, but I'm going to keep my wits about me, because until I know for sure that it's spirits pointing that out, that connection to everything that's making everything, that's animating me, if I'm not sure what it's pointing at, then I might take a road that is not right. But I am not going to lose my awareness on it. The minute I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this ain't right, I turn around, right? And people, there's no harm, no foul in that. Because what is true, what is real, what is spirit, what is creator can withstand your doubt. Your doubt does nothing to it. It does something to you, right? So it can put you in situations where it can remove that doubt. But you have to be willing to handle the energies coming in. Sometimes something's coming through that veil. It could be your guardian angel. It could be your dead, deceased uncle. It could be God itself going, yo, 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 yo. You have to be sensitive enough to understand that, right? And then discernment comes through action. Here's two choices out in front of you. Which one are you going to take? The shiny one that shines at the front, or the one that the light's way down the road? Which one are you going to take? Well, I'm going to take the shiny first. Okay, shiny. After the shine, it's a long, dark road. The long, dark road leads to shine. Start figuring out what's valuable here. The short term or the long term? The easy work or the hard work? The just thinking about your feelings or actually being your feelings fully without thinking about it and letting that show you what's what, right? I think there's always going to be a center in you, and it's not your identity, that knows when you feel like shit. It just knows that this is not working. This isn't working. I need to do something different. Oh my God, I got to do something different. Listen to that. And it could be a demon whispering in your ear, but you won't know if you don't try. And there's always the ability, like Dom once said, all paths go nowhere. A path is just a path. What gives a path meaning, does it have a heart? The minute it no longer has heart, you just drop it and be done with it. Well, I have to start over then. You're in infinity. That's what you're always doing. You're never not doing that. You're always starting over. In some aspect of your life, you're always the infant. And in some aspect of your life, you're always the wise elder. But you're both at the same time. And that's a hard thing to handle, because anybody going out there who wants to be a leader, we're here to change the world. We're going to change your life with our little thing we do. Don't believe it. It's bullshit. It's not real. It's just going to cost you money. Lots of money. $1,200. And you can come and sit, and we'll do a sound bath, and we'll do some breathing, we'll do some yoga, and we'll just talk about how great it all is. $1,200, and you're going to walk away transformed. Really? That doesn't seem real to me at all. Never has. It's always felt awkward, right? It's up to me. It always felt awkward. It's like, this is really awkward. I don't really understand what I'm supposed to be doing here. You know, that's like when I'm going to hold something. Here you go. Happy trails. And just, that's it. We're, when everybody's back, we can talk about, deeper things. There's times, when you're with people, you see an opening. You see like a layer of the onion. Just, it's like it's frayed. It's just looking to be just peeled away. And you do that, and you watch like a cohesion take place. I think Jesus said it best. Where two or more are gathered, knowledge is given. Right? So where two hearts are gathered, not two identities. They don't speak the same language. The heart speaks the same language. So there's these universal things that we could be talking about as a culture, as a society, as a species. The fact that we're a species that speaks, and look at what most of it's fucking noise. It's just fucking noise. It's like, that's enough. Let's explore the deeper things in life. Like anger arises. How do you deal with anger arising? Well, you don't deal with it, because to deal with it is transactional, isn't it? Now you got a transaction with your anger. Yippity dippity do. You go outside, you break sticks, you dig a hole, you scream in it, you pound on the ground until it's out of you. And then, realizing you look real stupid, recognize how stupid you look out there breaking sticks and pounding on the ground, throwing a tantrum. Step back, watch yourself acting like that, and go, okay, this has got to get cleaned up. And then don't lose sight of the fact that that's in there and it needs to be cleaned up. And most of what you're going to try and do is distract yourself from that. to create a situation where anger never arises. Good luck, because that ain't going to work out so well, not in a world of 8 billion people in cities with millions of people in them. That shit ain't going to happen. It doesn't even happen out here. It's like, oh, we're going to move to the mountains. It's just going to be the way I want it. Nope. You're going to have a jackass fucking neighbor like everyone does. It's like, no matter where you move, there's a jackass neighbor who's just got his nose in everybody's business and wants to be the sheriff of the neighborhood. When the revolution breaks out, those guys' numbers will diminish, I'm sure. Because, it's off topic, but when the whole shit hits the fan and society comes apart and, the cops aren't coming because they're back home taking care of their own. The fire guys, they're putting out the fires in their own house, right? And there's no one there, no one coming to help. The grocery store's cleaned out and you're in this suburb. You're going to have somebody, usually it's a guy. He's bald, not like Tom bald. Tom's got the Buddha bald. He's Buddha bald. He's not bulldog bald. He's usually bald. He usually has a really big truck, right? Really likes to look at people menacingly. He's got a little dog in his lap. That dude in every neighborhood is going to start going, all right, I'm in charge here. This is what we're going to do. And it's like, that guy's going to get capped in the middle of the night by the rest of the neighbors until they've gone through all of them.
Possibly.
Well, I'm not saying.
I know.
I mean, if anybody's like going, oh, you hear what he said he believes this? Shut the fuck up. Enough of that. It's a joke.
But in reality,
it's dark humor.
It's good. But the reality is neighbors helping neighbors will be the actual thing that helps. It's not people telling other people what to do.
And that guy has no friends, so...
Yeah, he's going to be looking over his shoulder. The only friend he's got is that little dog. He doesn't realize the little dog is looking to get away from him as soon as possible. Quit petting me like that.
Yeah.
It's like the male version of a Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just can see that, there's no way this sustains. Unless it can actually, the people involved in these systems can adapt to and really pay attention to what's happening now, where this is going. Human beings are expanding, exploring areas they never have before. Yeah, your legislation ain't going to really work out with that so well. Your rules, your procedures, the IRS just needs to go the fuck away. Just get the fuck out of here. Enough of this, you extortionist bastards. Taking a chunk of what everybody does to keep them in line, really, right? The IRS gets money from you to give it to systems that don't have the integrity or the stability to maintain in the current situation. It's almost like we're funding our own destruction. It's kind of wild if you think about it.
It is.
Right? So there's certain these things got to go. They got to go. They hinder human flourishing. They got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that hinders human flourishing has got to go. And does that look wild? Does that mean there's going to be a bunch of fucking hippies running around? In certain areas, yeah, for sure. Right? But it doesn't mean the whole world's going to go flippity-floppity. People are still going to grow food, right? People are still want to have a ranch. People are still going to want to, have a restaurant. Those things are part of the human experience, right? People worry about us. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. But just get rid of these things.
Well, in our country, we haven't had that kind of total meltdown, but other countries have, and they found their way through. You look at Argentina, some other places. Yeah.
Russia, I mean, there were bread lines when we were kids, remember?
Yeah. Yeah, and they were also fed a lot of propaganda, so I don't know exactly what I believe from that time, too.
Well, from talking to Russians I knew, because there was Aaliyah, we knew her, and then the other guy that was down in Santuario.
Yeah.
And I asked him, what's it like in Russia? He's like, what was that like growing up there? They said, well, once the economy was completely destroyed, because they tried to invade Afghanistan too. It turns out that anyone who invades Afghanistan gets their ass handed to them and they go broke doing it.
Yeah.
England figured that out. Russia figured that out. Now we kind of know that, and you can't even get all your shit back.
Well, they did.
They left a whole arsenal behind, but when that happened in Russia and then, we're doing the whole arms race with them, just trying to collapse their economy, basically, just
Mhm.
trying to nail it. Well, it works. It went down. They said it was then that, they had to retrieve their dignity, and the way they did it is everybody had a garden.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't have to go to the bread line. It's like we could grow our own bread. So, and even when their economy came back, they kept the gardens because
Mhm.
they know that, oh yeah, it's high time now, but it's not always going to be high time. And you look at Americans, man, they don't have savings. They don't have food storage. They don't know how to grow food. They're just basically, it's a fiat reality. It's just burn, 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 burn. But you got nothing behind you. So if this whole thing falls down, you're helpless. You will be one of those helpless people going, I'm hungry. Do you have any food? And a large chunk of Americans, I mean, no one will go, that's not me. Do you have any neighborhoods that are out there full of nothing? Just the people barely get along, let alone, have some dignity in where they live. There's plenty of that out there. You think that's going to go well? That's not going to go well. And then those are usually in cities, right? Around them anyway. Denver, the whole damn place is that. That's going to spread out. It's not going to stay right where it's at. It's staying right where it's at now. It's kind of like when you go to California. There's Palos Verdes, really nice, super ritzy homes and property and horses. And you look down the hill, there's Watts. And the people in Watts don't, Watts that's a dangerous ass place. They don't come up the hill yet. Yet. But when law and order is gone, right? When that is completely erased and everybody's just nuts, right? Focused on things that don't have to do with the cohesion of a society, off on these tangents, this shit's going to go south in the cities fast. It already kind of has.
And we've seen pockets of it. We just recently in North Carolina, when the hurricane hit there,
Mm-hmm.
that went real dystopian real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, those people are really resourceful. The Appalachians, the folks there.
Yeah.
But they were also really struggling. But they can bounce back harder than a suburb.
Mm-hmm. And, most people have no idea what went on there at all.
Mm-mm.
They
Still don't.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, it's not publicized, and the government did not help there. They made it worse.
It's almost like the media is there to throw you the sensational headline
Right.
with no substance
And then
of
move
any
on.
kind.
And then
Just
move
leave
on.
you guessing.
2 weeks later, no word.
Yeah.
But it's 5 more years to put it all back together.
Yeah, when people say there's this great shift in humanity, I will agree with that when propaganda no longer works. When the propaganda no longer works on anybody, and they actually have the wherewithal to see beyond the propaganda, and even if the propaganda sounds reasonable,
Mm-hmm.
don't take it at face value. Go look.
Mm-hmm.
Anything spoken should never be taken at face value. It should be looked into. Period. Like, especially when someone goes, I love you. Ooh, there might be a lot more going on there than just that. You know what I mean? That could say a whole lot, depending on what their definition of that word is. But all propaganda, because, sometimes when someone says, I love you, that's propaganda. That's not genuine at all. It's look at me nicely. I'll look at you nicely. I'll co-sign your bullshit. You co-sign mine. Oh my God, I love you so much. Thank you. Thanks for not telling on me. I love you. This kind of shit that goes down. It gets real childish. And I was like, ooh, but really until that propaganda no longer works anywhere, then I'll say, yeah, humanity's stepping up. Right now, I mean, I don't know. Do I have a negative outlook on humanity? No, not necessarily. But this transhumanism put the identity to the top and everything else is disregarded. Yeah, I got a lot of negative things to say about that. That's just bullshit. It's like, what is going on here? It's like a cult of personality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I think more than anything, it's just like disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely that, which is another thing to stalk. Because if you realize anything that drains energy from you keeps you from ultimate presence, which, what does that mean? Okay, I've said it. Energetic presence, well-being, maturity, strength, courage, presence. Fuerza.
Whereas,
Fuerza.
Fortitude. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, is that
Strong.
I think it means force. I looked it up. Forza, it means force. Yeah,
That's Fortica.
that's what it. Oh,
Fuerte?
fuerte is strength. I think fuerza means force, like a force.
Same.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too.
life
not
force? We're
Spanish.
talking about life force,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
I think it means the same thing, regardless of what.
And the meaning of life is found in the multi-layered dimensions of life. And the only way you access that is that life force. If you're draining it out in the world in any way, that's less you're going to know. Right? You have to be able to hold that. But I start having anxiety. Yeah, that's why you need courage. That's why courage and strength, that is important. That's why that force is important. Because if you apply what energy you have towards the shakiness of anxiety, and you just put that force in having no thoughts to exacerbate that anxiety will calm down, and that energy will reassimilate where it belongs within you. And it won't be anxiety. It'll be a silent fluttering of butterflies while you act in courage. Okay, here we go. Here we go. But to absolutely engage your feelings completely. Will they kill you? They could. I guess there could be a feeling in there that is so horrific and terrible, and you cannot get away from thinking about it and massaging it and feeding it. Yeah, I guess, there's probably people that like that. That's sad because there's just no reason for it. Right? There's a method to the madness, right? But there's not a reason behind it. It's like, well, what's that for? Is life hard and difficult? If we listened better, it probably wouldn't be. But we all want to do our own thing. We all want to be the center of our experience. And the center of the experience is life itself. It's that energy that's moving through everything. That's you have nothing without that. Right? That is you when you are free of your own identity. And it seems, saying it doesn't seem like much. But if you put down the weight of the identity and realize how much energy it takes to hold that up, and you let that energy back in, you're peering into heaven. And the sense of well-being you get from that kind of calms you down. You don't need to be running around like a heathen, getting hedonistic with everything all the time. You're not out looking for a good time all the time. You don't need to be preoccupied all the time. Just sitting there, just watching the world turn can be quite incredible, because there's a lot of things that in your busy life you miss. And then if you were to be able to sit quiet with no thoughts, you'd recognize things. It's like, I wonder how, those old men used to know when the storm was coming, because they saw it. They weren't in their head, they weren't on Facebook, posting about how much they know, right? Every 5 minutes. They weren't doing that. They were just observing, paying attention. Hell, a lot of them, they lived so far out away from anybody, there was no distraction out from outside of themselves, other than the forces around them in the environment, which you live in an environment long enough, you get comfortable with all the forces in that environment. It's like living in the woods. The safest place I've ever been. And the wind blows, the coyotes howl. I understand these. I've lived among these things long enough. I understand them. Don't need a gun, right? I don't need to, it's like there's a certain way you live up here. And if you do it right, there's no threat from the wildlife. Not really. Unless you're dumb. If you're dumb, then yeah, of course. But I've encountered bears, I've encountered mountain lions, and I've encountered coyotes and bobcats. There's a way that you interact that they don't fuck with you. They don't bother you. And it's not like a standoff. You're just like another thing in the woods.
Those are,
run off they go.
we have all those neighbors here too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was coyotes very close to us the other night.
I love listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
We found those. I found mountain lion tracks and scat on our property recently.
Yeah, it's, to me, I have found that in nature, it's just the connection to the presence, to life force, to spirit, to God, to soul, to the spirit that connects us all. There's not that many layers blocking it. There's not a lot of concrete and signs and stores and agendas, and it's easier to really connect. For me, it's just really easier to connect with, that flowing force of life here. Not to say I can't in the city. I can go to Dallas and hang out. It's not a problem. I can go pretty much anywhere and hang out. It's not a problem. Knowing I get to come home here makes it a lot easier. Thank God for this.
I was talking to somebody today, and they were like, I just really want to connect more with nature and have a deeper connection with it and feel more grounded, And I was just like, just go camping. I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm like,
Oh,
it kind of is.
well, start with the park. Not everybody's the nature boy you are. Start with the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you can get comfy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. When I moved into the woods, from Los Angeles, basically, straight to the mountains, I haven't left for a little bit, but pretty much here the whole time. And at first, yeah, it's tough because 7-Eleven isn't right there. That shit's 35 miles away. There's you got to plan things, and you're not going out all the time. You're not leaving your house for every little thing that crosses your mind. You're sitting there wishing you could go get it, but you really just don't have the. It would be stupid for you to drive 70 miles for a fucking candy bar. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of trims down what the identity craves. Because, there's food. You can always get that, store that up. But you don't go for the extras of anything, right? Besides, you got to save your money because your car's going to get destroyed. Driving down dirt roads with washboard all day. Right? Life becomes a different thing. That, what you do with your day, it's not what's happening in the city. Right? A good chunk of the day is just kind of, right? And that can either be awkward. You could feel guilty for not having anything to do or finding something to do. Or you can sit down and realize the world turns. It doesn't require your hard work at all. Those tomatoes, they'll grow. You don't have to do shit. You don't have to do shit. You might have to water them if there's no rain. But other than that, you ain't doing shit. You're watching them grow. Right? So this busy, I got to do. That is the biggest distraction running. And that will remain in people until the idea of, let's stalk this shit. See what's real about the way I feel in all this. Don't keep doing it. You just keep doing it. That the sun's coming up, whether you're lazy today or not. Right? And if you've got food in the fridge and your bill's paid, you have every right to be lazy today. You're being lazy. What do I have a job? Tell me what my job is. What's my job? I was born on this planet that's pretty much, it regulates itself pretty well. There's seasons, there's food, there's this, there's that. Stars, they're there, the wind blowing, everything's happening. What do I really have to do with any of this? And so what's my job here? What am I supposed to do? Well, you've got to be productive. Says who? Says who? For what? Towards what? You have to be a productive member of society. I didn't sign up for that. There was no, there's a contract. This is what you're going to do in society. No. That's not cool. You can't just do that. Who has the right to do that to anyone? This is how you're going to act. This is what was required of you. Right? So, whoa. I mean, it's gone so far that it's accepted and no one questions any of it. And, and is it scary to tear back, the veil on that and see what's really going on there? Yeah, absolutely. Is it going to shake things up? Things are going to get shaken up anyway. Might as well shake some things up while things are being shaken up. Because that's the mood. Let's do it. Let's look into all these things. Who was born to rule the world and tell the rest of us how to behave on it? Mm. Who was born with the ultimate medical knowledge to go jabbing us with bullshit? Who? What gives that person a right to force that on me? There's a lot of restraints here that need to be loosened up quickly, really quickly, because people are going to pop otherwise. You do one more pandemic, you're going to have a civil war, straight up, because there are plenty of people super pissed off about all that. So these brains that these powerful people have, they got to have the reins taken from them. But it's not a violent insurrection that does it.
Mm-mm.
It's self-responsibility, right? It's seeing that there's a value inside of life, that life itself is the value. And they don't recognize that. So stop listening to them. Stop. Turn off their TVs. I think the best, and I've said this, the best protest is when they come to do something, we say not a word, but we don't comply either. We just go about our business. Some of us did that during the pandemic, just went about our business. Do. What? People in masks looking at you like, you're a criminal. You don't have a mask on. It's like, wow, you joined that cult super quick, didn't you? Huh. Wow, you are part of a cult. You are part of a really disgusting cult. You just do what you're told. How is that not a cult? That you don't question it. You just do what you're told. Well, I have to do this. Says who? Well, if I don't, then, so you have created all of the parameters for your slavery. Good job. That you required so many little distractions, so many little toys, so many little items to consume, that you have created yourself as a slave. Well, you don't want to really believe you're a slave to this system, right? But you're definitely a slave to those toys, right? Because what are you giving your time for when you're working like crazy and then you buy nothing but, things to adorn yourself with, or things to keep you from getting bored and make you happy all the time? That's slavery. You're trading life for an idea. That is never a good idea. Honestly, seems dangerous to me. Really. Doesn't seem dangerous. All that life force just to get a Rolex. Dumbass. It's like, why? I have $100,000 watch. What does that equal? How many years of your life? So life is worth a Rolex. I tell you, I mean, think about it. It really is. It's kind of how things are. And we were born into that. So we don't see it as a thing. We take it as natural. Whatever you're born into seems natural to you, right? And that's why it's such a tough path, because you have to unmask everything. You have to realize that where you actually are is still in Plato's cave, staring at shadows on the wall. This isn't real. It's not real yet, right? This is all manufactured. Real to me is living, right? It doesn't matter where I'm at. Doesn't matter what's happening. Doesn't matter who's around. The presence of life force within me, that's what has value. There's very little else that does. And when that value is perfectly seated, then out of that comes, energy that I can apply to people that I care about, right? Or people that need a hand. If it seems, if it's the right circumstances to help someone, I will. If it's not, nope, let someone else do it. If you're trying to help everybody, you don't have enough time for anything, right? You got to pick those things. Mm-hmm. But start with ourselves. We should start with ourselves. Like, what makes you tick? What are you afraid of? What do you actually know about life? What do you know about the thing animating your body that you call you? How much do you really know about that? What do you know about energy? How do you know about mixing energies? What do you get when you do that? What's the recipe? Is it a little of this and a little of that, or are you just tossing everything in there? Right? Do you know what energy to use in what situation? How knowledgeable are you about life on Earth, your life on Earth? right? And what's its destination? What's the trajectory of that? That's the best place to put your time, your energy, because it's only going to harvest more, right? And hopefully you get to that place where you recognize there's a creator. Call it God, call it whatever the hell you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. It's going to be there regardless of what you call it. It's going to be there regardless of whether you believe in it or not. But when that connection becomes crystal clear, you understand what behaviors are not right for you real quickly. Right? Anything that takes you out of that isn't right. Anything that takes you away from well-being is obviously wrong. Obviously. Right? And there has to be a want of applying energy to understanding that life, or we're done. We're just done. Because we're just going to either blow ourselves to smithereens or build so much shit that we're all standing on a pile of shit on a rock that used to be earth, but it's been turned into so many things. It's a little nugget with cars stacked for miles on top of it, houses and shopping centers and every other damn thing. Right? And we think the more of this we have, the better off we are. That's only because we were born in it. And if you're born sick, sick is normal. If you're born into a sick society, that's going to feel normal to you. Well-being and retrieving your energetic presence is going to feel a little overwhelming and spooky and require a little bit more responsibility than you might want to give it. Right? So, you got to really watch out for those things. But that, to me, Carlos's Don Juan's version of stalking, that's what you're doing. You're looking for the debris in your connection to what's making you, and you're removing it. And as you remove it, your energy returns. It's not getting absorbed by this shit anymore. And so it fully lands right behind your eyeballs. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you move through the world flowing with it, in unison with it, in harmony with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. But knowing it and doing it are two very different things. And figuring out how to do figuring out how
and doing it are the same thing.
Okay.
Thinking about doing it
Okay.
and doing it are vastly different.
Because knowing is by doing, but thinking is by not doing. It's imagining.
Thinking is circumventing doing and presenting your higher perspective.
And it's different for everyone. I mean, there's not like, here is the recipe book for exactly how to do this for every single person. No, for every person it's different. And every person's circumstances are different as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah.
What do you have to say, Wally? Walter? With that buttoned up like that, I should call you Walter. Walter White.
I mean, basically agree with everything you said.
Oh, no, that's culty. Don't do that.
Okay.
I agree with what I said. Don't do that.
I'm on the
We'll
spot
be accused
here.
that he's running the cult up there. Everybody
agrees.
I'm starting to sweat.
Oh, see.
For a window for him.
That's one of our ways that we torture our cult members and we get them to stay is we crank the heat up and make them sweat.
That's what I do. It's pleasant in here now. It's lovely in here now.
Cult. No fucking joke.
I guess, just stalking, it seems like it's just a never-ending thing. I think you can spend your whole life stalking your behaviors.
Well, you could. Or there's the other option that when it becomes unbearable and you need to go do something else, don't go do something else and let it be unbearable. To me, that's, this place is that. It's like when you feel something unbearable, you got friends. It's like I used to have a friend of mine that he's still a dear friend of mine, and he lived with us for a few years. Whenever he was happy, I'd ignore him. And it's like, yeah, he's doing his thing. But when he was down in the dumps, I would go sit next to him. He's like, dude, you only want to hang out with me when I'm in a bad mood. I said, well, it's the only time you actually need my help. That's it, because you're coming apart, and I see it. And sometimes if you believe no one sees it, you'll continue. But the minute someone goes, hey, what's that? You put on the brakes. So to be that for people, because it is overwhelming. It is uncomfortable to really sit with how you feel and get down to the nitty gritty of why you behave the way you do. Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's pathetic. It's full of childishness. It's full of stupidity. It's full of desire. It's full of angst. It's full of lust. It's full of greed. It's full of all those things.
Yeah.
You know, and you just gotta, all right, here it comes. I'm gonna sit in it and let it burn.
We have this like innate desire to just like want to feel good all the time too. At least me, it's one of my biggest things I struggle with. When I get uncomfortable, I just want to do whatever the heck I can
Well,
to
if you
feel
want to
comfortable.
feel good all the time, you're gonna neglect all the times you don't.
Yeah.
That's dumb. So there, don't be dumb. Carlos told me, he's like, Cristobal, don't ever lose your ability to feel bad. And don't ever lose your willingness to feel bad. Otherwise, you might not know what you're doing. Because to have this high desire to feel good all the time. Well, define good. What's good? Honest? The truth?
Comfortable.
Reality?
I think good, yeah, and I don't think good is necessarily a good, a positive thing.
So you want a pillow top mattress in a jail cell? That's basically what you're saying.
I guess.
Because what can get
Just to
you
take
when
the
you
edge
have-
off sometimes, But sometimes, that blade needs to be sharp and not dulled.
A velvet-lined prison cell.
Huh?
A velvet-lined prison cell
Yes.
with all the electronics.
It's kind of like what I sleep in right now. I mean, it's kind of the size of a prison cell. With the door shut. It's
Hey,
pretty
man,
cramped in there. I was thinking about the other day.
You get what you deserve.
It could be smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe all that was just training for
You're
this.
just one step away from homelessness. One step.
Well, yeah. I'm riding the line.
Yeah, good. No,
I've never ridden it before. I've always been scared to, so it's like really rolling the dice sometimes. This is good. You gotta take risks sometimes.
My way has always been, if I, notice somebody who I'm interacting with and there's a friendship developing, there's like a real relationship there, and I can see that they need time to take some chances and some risks and take some serious time doing nothing just to figure out what the fuck is going on inside of them. I'll feed them. I mean, to me, that's, if you've got the ability to do that, not bother you.
Yeah.
You're not like, this is what you're going to do. No, you give freely. Here, have some food. Not, well, if you do this for me, you can have some food. No, there's no transaction. So to be able to work your shit out without someone being transactional with you really gives you the freedom to do that. Right?
And if worse comes to worse, I mean, if I did go homeless, I mean, I'd live in a car for a month maybe, and then I just get a job, a different job, and I'd be then, somewhere else. It's like it'd suck for a month, maybe,
Which
so
is,
it's really not that bad.
So you could say, right, and I know that's so true of you. That's absolutely accurate. So already the work you've done, it's showing itself in the fluidity of your ability to take the identity and throw it away for your well-being. And if your well-being is you get a job, get a house, get a, whatever, so be it. If that's part of it, that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's not for anybody else to decide whether that's valuable or not. It's valuable for you. Like for me, I would never do van life. Fuck no. Yuck. I mean, if I had to, I could drop the identity and do it. But no. I like having my own home. I like, sleeping in the same bed every night. I really enjoy that. I would not want to be living in a van trying to find a place to park and hoping I don't get mugged.
That's actually I think the most trickiest part. The trickiest part about that actually is finding somewhere to park.
It's easy. You just park in a national forest 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
You camp out. You already want it.
You and that meth lab down the road coming to ask you what you're doing there.
There's a lot of weird stuff that
There's
goes
a lot
on
of
natural.
shit that goes on in the
Yeah.
van life community. We know that. I mean, whoa. That can get real ugly real fast. There's a lot of the young girls that want to go do that. They do that for like 2 weeks. They come back like, So yeah, it's dangerous out there.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of takers out there. Ain't a whole lot of givers. There's a whole lot of advantage seekers. I mean, a lot of the times, there's just a chunk of the population that seems predatory.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa, shit. They're looking for the angle. They're looking for the edge. They're looking for you to make you into a mark.
Mm-hmm.
And, intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And those people tend to drift around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So they end up in those van life communities. They end up in those kind of vagrant places, like the slabs.
Yeah.
Shit goes down there all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that place is not.
No, Slab
Yeah.
City. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a spooky ass place.
Well, that place is going to change. They just found $12 billion worth of lithium underneath it.
And
So,
none of those people own it.
yeah.
Bye. Bye. Go do Slab City somewhere else on the moon. Go to the moon. Yeah. Interesting. Got anything else? Anybody got anything else?
No.
I mean,
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that we didn't cover, which I feel like he talks a lot in the books, is like the four moods of stalking:
Which are?
sweetness, patience, cunning, and ruthlessness.
Yes. Towards whom?
Yourself,
Right. Towards what in you?
your want to slip.
Your identity.
Yeah,
That thing thinks it can get away with everything. Being inside knows you get away with nothing. You know, the identity thinks, I'll get away with this. I'll get away with this. Oh, I've got plenty of time. I'm going to live forever. Well, unless you're downloaded in the Matrix, no, you won't.
What would you say sweetness? Like, how would that apply? Like, you want maybe
So,
go into that a little more?
How would it apply? Here's how it would apply.
Yeah, like
when
an
you get
example.
overwhelmed,
Mhm.
show yourself a little sweetness.
Okay.
It will allow you to be with that gnarly feeling longer.
Mm.
That it's almost like you become your own mother. You nurture yourself.
Mm.
So while you don't take away the feeling you're having,
Yeah.
you apply it seems maternal,
Yeah.
a loving, not concern, but a consideration for where you are at that moment. And you bring that in, and it kind of, for me, that sweetness makes it not sting so bad. It still smells, but it doesn't sting so bad, right? And I can handle the smell. That's just the smell. And it kind of leans into it and kind of makes it, that nasty feeling, a little more pliable. So it's almost like it's just a ball of toxicity that your energy's been wrapped up in. And just that sweetness just can come in and pop and drain the shit out of that, drain the pus out of such a wound. So then you can just sit there in this empty space because there's no pus in it anymore. It's still inflamed, but that sweetness can allow you to kind of bring some life force into that. I mean, to me, you know, if you're going to go after the heavier, gnarlier feelings, you should choose to do that. Don't let that happen haphazardly because you're going to get tripped up. So if you're feeling like angsty, frustrated, do it. Go, I am going to go sit in my fucking trailer. I'm going to do that for the next 2 hours and do it. Really do it. You're in control, right? It's much easier to apply those moods when you choose to do it. It's very hard to come across those moods when you're feeling forced into something nasty. Like when it just overtakes you out of nowhere, you're not going to find forbearance, sweetness, patience, cunning, right? You're not going to find that ruthlessness to cut through that thought. Because when you're being ruthless to yourself, it's not yourself you're being ruthless to. You're being ruthless to the thing that's injecting thoughts into you that causes your well-being to slip. And you smash the fuck out of them. I call them demons. Call them what you want. Nefarious little shits. You can call them sprites. You can call them all kinds of things. I just call them demons. That's what they are. They're, again, the demonic presence. Its main purpose is to drain you of life force and to lower your well-being. So anything that's doing that is demonically influenced, right? It's not just, it can be that if you feed it long enough. I mean, possession is real. And possession is, you know, the acts you're carrying out are wrong, but your inability to satiate yourself with well-being, you have to satiate yourself with terrifying, terrible acts. That basically creates a big opening in you for that demon to come in and take over. And, you know, I've been around the block. I've seen some shit. Oh my God. What can go down when someone's got that in them? Because it takes them over. They can fucking levitate. They can throw people across the fucking room. They can do all kinds of things that are frightening, really frightening. You know, it's like, well, how do you handle that? Well, you better have some energetic presence. You better have your well-being, and that better be solid. You better have a direct connection with life itself, because the only thing that's going to erase that is life itself, right? And the force of that being applied to it. And it's wild. And I've met enough of the people who do exorcisms. The stories they tell are fucking insane. Is that something that we all should be doing? No, there's people out there that are good at that, right? They can actually separate the, that presence that's nasty inside of a person from the person. So the person doesn't get hurt at all. They're just hammering away at the thing, right? You do that within yourself. So when you go ruthless, right? Cunning and ruthless, you're going up against the thing that's taking away your well-being. You think you're going against yourself. Well, if you're convinced of that, that means the demon's got you. That any challenge to that negative feeling, that's is wrong, or you just kind of get, a lot of people just cave into it, just let it fucking rape them until they're laid in there useless and can't get out of bed for a couple of days. And then eventually their energy comes back around. They can get out of bed and move around. Some are tormented all the time. But it's inevitably what's attracting them to us: our behaviors, our actions, the way energy is kind of coming off of us, right? If you're standing in heart with true connection to life, that radiation blinds them. They don't want anything to do with it. But if you dim that down because you got an identity consuming so much of your life force, they see that dim light as a mark. And they'll come in, right in, and start injecting thoughts into you that your life sucks. You got no fucking option. Nobody loves you. Everything goes wrong. And why am I being punished? Which is defeat, right? So there has to be something inside of us that stands up against all this shit we feel.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of quit the battle before it's even started, Mm-hmm. I think being able to separate that thing from yourself gives you some clarity, because you're able to, in the fight, it's not you, it's almost something you can focus on better.
It's like we're all in a cult, and the cult is our own personality, and it requires every ounce of life force. It requires all the energy. It requires all the attention. Nothing else gets it. When someone is that embedded, they don't actually care about anyone else. There's no room for that, right? Because the identity is being held as the prime. That is the thing being worshipped. And that's dangerous. It's just dangerous, right? Because at a certain point, that identity puts the crown on. It is now separated from life itself, and it's going to freeze.
And we see that playing out every day in society. I think that's kind of how we gotten where we are.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. Anything else? Did we cover that?
I mean, I think it's kind of interesting that those moods, the 4 moods, they kind of temper you to work through this in a way, right? Because like the sweetness, like you can fall in depression, but that sweetness can bring you out of that a little bit. Or if you're not having any discipline, that ruthlessness can kind of put you back on the discipline path.
The sweetness can apply a cold rag to your sweaty head.
Yeah.
Okay. Calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Just let go of the thoughts. Sweetness does that. Right? When the thoughts won't let go, here comes ruthless. And, for me, when I'm in that mood, I don't move. I'm sitting still and I'm going after it. Can anybody see what I'm going after? No. It's a something interacting with my feeling and causing my well-being to drain. I go after that. And I try like hell to recognize whether my behavior is behind this or if this thing is coming after me. So I'll always check. Make sure I'm not behaving in a certain way. Because sometimes these things are coming after you because they don't want you to do what you're doing. Right? Kind of like, feds. Well, I like what you're doing. You need to stop doing that. It's like kind of thing, The authorities. Like anybody really has any.
I think like all depression and all that stuff, it's almost like their food. So it's you try to take away their food, they're gonna get aggressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's better just lay down and let them do what they're gonna do. They'll leave you alive, and you'll have to just recuperate. Right? Yeah, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? Like constantly in an infirmary. Life in an infirmary. Yeah, well, yeah, dude. If you look deep enough, you might have the idea that you're on a prison planet, that it's a prison. And there's all these authorities running around. There's all these locked doors, and you have to ask permission to have it open for you. I mean, there's all kinds of this. The movie industry is that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Politics is that way, right? A lot of these systems and these organizations are that way. You know, you got to bow down to the authority to get what you want. You have to sleep with Harvey Weinstein if you want to be famous. You're going to have to let P. Diddy diddle on you, right? To get a record contract.
Get diddled by Diddy.
Yep. Got to get diddled by Diddy to get rich in the music business. It's disgusting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the cult is real, and it's our personality. It's our identity. It's cultish. It requires everything without concern for anything else. Right? And what is that? I just want to feel good. I just want to feel. I want to be able to do that. Because if I just want to feel good, then I'm not going to be good at feeling anything else.
Yeah, feeling bad is better than not feeling at all.
Because if you just want to feel good, then when you feel bad, you're going to really ruin that.
Sometimes just getting to the place where you think you deserve to feel good can be really hard. Because you can be so deep into victimhood that you don't even deserve it because of what I've done, whatever that is. And that's where sweetness can also help. Where it's like, yeah, you actually do deserve to feel good.
Yeah, here's a good way to feel good. You want to hear something?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it publicly.
All right.
I'll even use names. Jimmy Bennett, the third. Yeah, fuck it. We're doing it. What's his name? Ellis Wyndham fucking Sydney, whatever the fuck his name is. A Coney. I don't know his last name. He didn't really have one. And that kooky young girl he hangs out with who eats tons of mushrooms.
Zaria.
You're forgiven. Now I feel good.
Yeah.
Just forgive. You want to talk trash? Have at it. You're forgiven. I'm not going to come after you. I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to say what you did. Right? Forgiven.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to be right. I don't need to be vindicated. I need to have well-being and be free. I'm not going to lose sight of that for anybody or for anything. It's just not going to happen. Right? So, pick your battles.
And figure out your own lives. And
understand that whoever is going against you, they're suffering. That's why they're doing it. It has not that much to do with you. They can't figure out how they can live a good life with this identity intact. The identity has become so important. They pour all their energy into it, and then they're homeless. They don't have a job. They don't have money. They can't figure out how to work. Their cognition goes because this identity has to be maintained that I'm the spiritually high-minded person who has nothing but good things about them. You can't maintain that. That's going to drain you. So that's the suffering. That's not real in them. So they got to proclaim it. And what's actually happening is this depression inside. Right? That's causing them to act out to people who, have done nothing but really help them. Maybe put them in their place, but you act out, you're going to get put in your place. It's just how it is. Yeah. And it's not like it's an authoritative thing. It's like, yo, you're one amongst many here. Your way, that's selfish and you need to stop. Yeah.
It's really funny you bring that up because today I saw this thing and it was like forgiveness is the worst punishment. Forgiving someone is, and not like doing it to punish them, but it's if you forgive something, they know they've done something really wrong, you just forgive them. Yeah, it makes them feel like
here's something. What you just brought up, I'm going to talk about this because you see this. Forgiveness is the best punishment. What mindset is that even coming from? It's like it's still vindication.
It is.
Yeah.
It's still.
If you're doing it to punish them, then that's not coming from the right place.
It's not real either.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's transactional.
Yeah.
And a lot of what, comes across as spiritually enlightened speech is not. It's very much that. It's just what is this? This is bullshit.
Well, if you're forgiving someone to punish them, are you really forgiving them?
No,
No. Yeah.
you're being nefarious.
Yeah.
No,
It's kind of like mind fucking someone in kind of a way, you know.
no, I just forget. I don't even consider. I don't.
I wasn't saying
bother
it that
them.
way, but
I don't send anybody their way. I don't go out and smear their name all over town. I just don't do it. It's
Yeah.
business. They're falling out. Yeah, I mean, I get it. This isn't easy. And there's been a lot of people who've come through my door who have this idea of what it's all about. And when I defy that idea, they look at me like I'm a monster. And it's like, you live in delusion. How dare you say that? It's like, yeah, your identity cannot handle the delusion it creates for you. It can't handle being called out for it. So you're going to attack. The identity is what attacks. The heart doesn't attack. The living presence inside of you is never attacking anything. It's the identity doing that. One identity to another. America's identity against Russia's identity. I mean, all this shit is just identity, right? Identity politics. That's where we're at now, right?
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so gross. It shows you how destructive of a force it is. The identity, the idea of something instead of the action, the thing, what it actually is genuinely. And well-being to me is so valuable that, yeah, I'm not going to seek retaliation. You can come steal everything from me. I'm not coming after you. I'm just not going to do it.
We also will protect ourselves. So
Yeah,
be careful.
Yeah. I mean, if I catch you doing it, you're going to be missing your big toe. I'll get out me pruning shears and I'll say, hey, come over here. I got some pruning shears. I'm going to take off 2 of your toes. Chink, I mean, not to say that of course we would do that. But if someone got away with it, you got away with it. I'm not going to call anybody. I'm not going to do anything because it's creating more static.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like let their static be the static in the world. Don't add to it so you can have static too. Why?
that's kind of what they want anyways.
Right.
Too.
You'll get nervous. Yeah. You'll get tense. You'll get angry. You'll get the feeling of being offended. And that doesn't really sit well with well-being and energetic presence. That's kind of the absence of those things. So it's kind of like if someone wrongs you, now you're going to wrong yourself too. So what did Buddha say? It's insane to drink poison and think that someone else is going to get. Anger is a poison you drink that you expect someone else to feel the effect.
Yeah, you hold on to a grudge. I mean, you're the one holding on to it. You're holding on to that resentment. They're not holding on to it. It's poisoning you, so it's like it's not even worth holding on to.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking maybe that the victim mentality that's been running around for quite a while is kind of starting to diminish.
I think people are really tired of it societally wise and going, you know what? This whole cancel culture, this whole wokeness, this whole you must make me not feel bad. You are responsible for making me not feel bad. That's like everybody's done with it. It's not everybody.
It's not going
but a good
anywhere.
chunk of folks are done with it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think those people will be they'll be in the margins.
yeah.
Which was where they belong. It's like you guys are just
Ridiculous.
You want it your way. It's like, no, you don't get to do that. Nobody has it their way. I've never had it my way. Have you?
No.
The same Burger King. You can't have it your way.
Same.
You can have it Yahweh
Or no way.
or no way. Yeah, or no way at all. All right, we wrap it up.
Yep.
We got anything else?
No, I think that's it.
We do have our website, wideawakenbabylonpodcast.com.
Wide Awake in Babylon.
There are archives there, right?
Archives.
Is there access to all that YouTube shit I did 15 years
on our YouTube channel, there's a link that goes to the Highest Ridge YouTube channel, which has videos of you talking like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. There's hundreds of them. Those are pretty good. I haven't really changed my tune. I've just gotten a little older and more curmudgeon-y. That's all.
And wiser.
And, wiser too. Wiser to the bullshit that I have spouted over the years. Hey, that's a good thing. That means more well-being and less thinking. But there's that. You can get T-shirts there.
Yeah, you get T-shirts on our website.
We have a Patreon.
We do have a Patreon.
If you want to do that. I think I'm going to put out soon a fundraiser for Enrique. The jungle decided to drop a tree on the kitchen, dining, and really the hangout area. It's been destroyed. So
Nobody's hurt.
Nobody's hurt.
That's good.
But it's destroyed and it needs to be rebuilt. So, we'll figure out a way to, if you can afford to give. And if you want to, get a hold of us and we'll let you know how. You can give it to him directly so you know where it goes, or you can give it to us and we'll give it to him. And I'll even show you the receipt that it got sent out. I don't want people to think that I'm taking money. I'm not. It goes straight to Enrique, it goes straight to Santuario. Those places are hard to maintain in the jungle because the jungle eats them all day long. And trees just decide to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's taking out the bathhouse. It's taking out one of the.
That was a huge
That was a
tree.
big tree.
It fell all the way across the river. It's like
Yeah.
70 feet tall.
Yeah. And then that grandfather tree,
The 600-year-old Manchinga tree.
the Manchinga, dropped and destroyed a dieta cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so we'll figure out a way. If you want to help out, let us know. We can do it through Venmo, or you can Western Union them directly, however we can do it. Just, so I'll just put it out there. Anyway, that's episode 69.
Yep.
We'll be back next week with another one.
Yep. Something.
If there's someone out there that is a topic you want discussed and you think that we might have some insight into it based on your listening so far,
Send it to Isaac.
I'm totally down for talking about whatever anybody wants to. We're going to have a couple guests soon, I guess.
Yep. Possibly.
It's possible. Anyway, we're going to see what they want to talk about and then we'll bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one of them is a therapist. Works with mentally ill people, depressed people. Yeah, I'm not trying to make fun of your depression.
No, it's rough.
It's deep rest. If you take it as deep rest, it's not so bad. Good night.
Have a good night.
Lindos espíritu y luna, de los bosques hallaremos. Para llama irune. Cuidaremos cuerpo luna. Amiga y niruna y lindos espíritu y luna, de los bosques hallaremos, para llama irune, anay na nay na nay nay na, da di di da da. Nay na nay na nay nay na da 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 da